Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. My name is Rhijn and I'm a life and business success mentor for professional women who want to be successful but on their own terms. I'm also the founder and the host of the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show, and today it is my privilege to be interviewing Florence Parot. Florence is a sophrologist and she specializes in stress, sleep, burnout, and performance. She helps busy and talented people under pressure be at their best when they need it most. As a result of going into burnout over 20 years ago, she learned how to have a busy lifestyle and keep the excitement going while also respecting her own limits. She turned that newly gained knowledge into an art form, a lifestyle, and a career. In 2010, she launched the Sophrology Academy, UK's first sophrology training centre. She also started her own publishing house and is leading retreats in Kent and very soon in France. Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show, Florence. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and yes.
I'm so delighted to have you. You've been on my list for quite a while. But for the listeners, I would and viewers, I would almost say that Florence is almost the person who welcomed me in the UK.
That's very nice.
And that's 14 months ago already. And she's the one who handed over ownership of Athena Central London to me because she wanted to pursue her own business. So, Florence, tell us more about you.
Well, Agnes, where do I start really? I used to be in the corporate world, so I worked for many years in international companies, helping run them, loads of admin and management tasks basically. And I had met sophrology, if you can put it that way, many years before when I was still a student and went, as you said, in burnout. Just very quickly, maybe for our listeners, sophrology is a technique using mind and body techniques basically to feel better, manage your stress and regain energy. Just putting it in a nutshell. But that had helped me quite a lot. And I realized after many years of corporate life that I wanted to do things differently. All was well and good, but I wanted really to give back in a way what had been given. And use those skills to help other people. So I retrained, started my business in Paris as a sophrologist from a clinic, also working in companies to give things like stress management trainings. And that was going really well. And then I decided I wanted to move to the UK, which was, you can say, the country of my heart. And so I did that 7 years ago, nearly to the day, really, only a few weeks to go. And there it was really, I'm not saying the beginning of a big adventure, because in a way it had already started, but really the progress into a massive adventure, coming into this country on my own with my children and my skills and my knowledge, and starting again from scratch was an amazing, amazing challenge. I didn't think of it like that at that time. It felt the right thing to do, basically.
I know that feeling.
And I've loved it. I mean, yes, there have been difficult moments, but basically it has been an amazing time. So,
talking about that, so we can place it in time. 7 years ago, you arrived in the UK, and when we think a bit of the viewers, quite often these are women who are somewhere, I wouldn't say midlife necessarily, but at a turning point in a career, and so it always seems like, oh my God, this big thing to do, and where do I start, and etc. And as you mentioned, yes, there are a lot of challenges along the way, and those are quite often what is stopping those women to go after the dream or to their reinventing themselves. So you and I have shared similar type of challenges, because I did the same 1 year ago. I do admit that there is something around maybe not completely being conscious of what lays ahead. However, so what did you find most difficult in that journey?
I would say probably the most difficult were the times when maybe business was slow, so finances were low, on a very practical level, really. As I mentioned, I was on my own with 2 children, so it makes it even more of a challenge, as it were, to make a success of the business. And there were times where things seemed to be just not working, seemed to be not happening, and it felt, I think, lonely and scary at those times, definitely. And it was the ability to really go beyond that, to really move forward from that made a difference.
And so these are my favorite topics. So tell us how you did address that. What are your tips? How are you doing that?
Well, I would say first, I managed my own anxieties, that's where my own professional skills come in, obviously. And that is a big help, because when you're not completely overcome by all these feelings and these anxieties, definitely, then your brain is still working a little bit and you can use that. So that definitely helped quite a lot. But then I would say I just went at it again and again and again. I never gave up. And I think that's the key. I remember hearing reading a very inspiring interview from another businesswoman. Can't remember who she was, unfortunately, but she was saying, they were asking, what's the secret of your business? And she said, well, I never gave up. I went on and on and on. And she said, the successful entrepreneurs, that's what we never give up. And I think that's, as simple as it sounds, is exactly what it is about. Is that even in difficult times, because there will always be difficult times, you don't give up and you find different ways. And I suppose that's what I did. When there were slow times, I looked for other venues, I networked, I looked for help, I tried different ideas. Some worked, some didn't, but it was a way to find different solutions, basically, to the challenges I was facing. And I think what really gave me the strength to do that was a passion I felt for my business. And if I had not been 100% convinced that what I was doing was absolutely right and what I absolutely wanted to be doing, it would have made it even harder, because I think if you don't have that absolute belief that, yes, this is the right thing, it can be a lot harder.
Yeah, I must admit it's the faith, knowing that this is the right thing, is absolutely key. And I think that to that extent, a lot of women are not sufficiently listening to their gut feelings, to their intuition that tells them that, yes, despite what it looks like, it is the right thing to do. And I think it's completely different when you are indeed completely aligned with who you are and what is true for you. The passion, of course, is something, it's the driver. So if you don't have the drive, that's more difficult. Some ladies know they want something else, but don't necessarily yet know what it is. And that can be a journey too. I know in my case, it took me 6 years from the moment I knew I wanted something else before I actually understood what it was. And even thereafter, you have that flexibility that is required to adapt to the circumstances. Is that something you've experienced yourself also, that you've had to adapt as you were going, or was it a fairly straightforward line?
I don't think it's probably ever a straightforward line. There were times where everything felt it was just aligning, happening. It still is in a new project I'm working on. You mentioned the retreats in France. Everything seems to be moving forward very, very easily. But most of the times you do have these hurdles and these times when you think, is this the right thing? Am I making the right decision? I could do it this way, that other way. Which one do I choose? So yes, there were times where I had, in a way, to reinvent myself or reinvent what I was doing and decide what was right. With what I do, you could practice sophrology in so many different ways. You do have to make decisions, otherwise you could be all over the place. networking maybe 100% of your time, or marketing yourself in too many different directions. So it took me a little while to really realize where I needed to apply my skills most, basically. And that comes also with experience. I would say experience in the business, in exactly what you're doing, as well as experience in running the business. Mm-hmm. And you're right, it also took me some time to really understand and discover at the beginning what I really wanted to do, what was my main drive. And even then, when I had that and I pursued it, yes, there are times where I had to think, okay, do I want to do it this way, that way? There are so many different ways. Which one is really aligned with what I want to do, the way I want to do it? But it's, in a way, it's nearly a pleasure, I would say, because it's really connecting with myself and thinking, okay, how do I want to do this? I am, in a way, I'm giving myself the freedom to do exactly how I want to do it. And that's the beauty of it. I don't have a boss anymore, anything to tell me what to do. And that's the beauty of it. Nobody is going to tell me, oh, you have to do it that way, because that's what the book says, basically.
Yeah, and it's very interesting what you mentioned, by the way, because you make me think of something else. So you don't have anyone else in the sense of a boss. However, what I notice a lot in the entrepreneurs world in general, the small business world, is that we tend to follow what we think is right for others. And so we copy, quote unquote, not in the negative sense, but the techniques, etc., that are okay for others, but they may not necessarily work for you. So yes, one of my areas of expertise is personal branding. And then, of course, we do say in personal branding that you need to look at your competition. But once you've had a feel for what they do, don't look anymore. Don't look anymore. Because you don't know what the reality behind it is to start with, and the second one is that what as I said, but what works for you, for them, may not necessarily work for you. So you really have to. You can't force yourself into a format that is not yours. And I've made that mistake a lot before I finally understood that no, this is not okay for me. Is that something you've experienced also?
Absolutely. When people give you advice, like, oh, you should do it that way, or you should work with that, or you should pay attention to that. No. And actually, sometimes it's a good idea in there. Obviously, I'm not saying, don't listen to anyone, but you should really make up your own mind about what people are saying and what they're suggesting. Yes, okay. And then think, okay, is that really relevant for me? What could that bring me? And I've had that many times. And I think it's also why, as an entrepreneur, you have to know yourself very well. Mm-hmm. To know what it is you're looking for. So even if you think, okay, it's all about the business and I have to make this work, and I don't know, it's all about the figures or the marketing or different aspects, it's not just a business. And even if you have a team, even if you have staff, even if you have a big company, it's really about your own inspiration. So who you are, what it is that is driving you to do this. And this is so personal. This is what is going to make you different from the others. And so it has been a journey, very lovely journey as well, very interesting journey about knowing myself better as a person and as an entrepreneur, growing with that. And I still feel I'm growing with it, becoming nearly a better person and a better entrepreneur as time goes, because I am allowing that process to happen and for me to grow with it.
You're preaching to the converted. You know that I work with a holistic approach, and I always work on the foundations first. And although I have 3 different and complementary type of services, they all start with first a clarity of who you are, what's important to you, etc. It's foundational. You can't. And again, coming back to personal branding, which is not the service that I bring as such. It's one of the tools that I'm using. It's about aligning the 2 thirds of the iceberg below the surface with the visible part that's above the surface. if they're not aligned, it doesn't work. So no, it's really, really, really key. And yes, I love how you describe it. It's a lovely journey. You keep it's a journey we're on until the end of our life anyway. So being connected to it, being conscious of it, and I love to say making conscious choices around it, and that's what you're describing as well, is really the beauty of that journey. So tell us more about what you do now.
Well, at the moment, so I'm probably doing some things that is not in the book. I mean, I'm doing a lot of different things, but all connected together. And it's true that I've had a lot of people giving me advice and saying, "Oh, you should focus on the one thing." And I realize I can't do that because it's not who I am.
No, I know that feeling also.
And also it is obviously all, as you were describing for your own business, all connected together. It all stems from the same passion and vision. It takes different form, and I've realized I do need to create new things and be busy developing new activities in a way to feel truly myself. So I'm still working with my academy, which is a training center where we train people to become sophrology practitioners. So that's down in Kent. We've been now in existence for more than 6 years, and that's going very well. So I'm managing that. I'm giving a few of the classes myself. And I've grown a team, which is really satisfying to see this really taking shape as it goes. So that's sort of, you could describe as my main current activity. But on top of that, as you were saying in the introduction, we've just created, so with a team of other sophrologists, a publishing house, as you do when you have 2 minutes.
Of course.
Because we realized that there was a need to publish more books about sophrology in English. So again, so some things that feels completely different, but in fact is completely aligned with the first project. And we were finding it very difficult to work together with current publishers, as it were not really aligned with what we wanted to do. And we thought, well, the books we write, we could always self-publish, but there was a limit to that. And also we wanted to translate books from French and Spanish, because there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands on the subject, but very few in English. So we thought, well, actually to do that, we need to do it properly. So there's a group of about a dozen of us, and we've created Light Bubble Publishing, which is really literally starting now. And we're putting together a publishing house to print and publish our own books, but as well translate books that are in existence. Mm-hmm. Sophrology mainly, but also we're very open to other complementary therapies. And we're also putting together a free online magazine on the subject, so that people can read more in English about sophrology to understand what it is about. So that's a very, very exciting adventure.
Yeah.
Loads to discover. I mean, as I had published my first books many years ago, I had discovered through that the whole process of publishing, and nowadays it's become much easier through, of course, modern means, basically. So that's what's allowing us to do that. And the latest project is, as you were saying, retreats. So we are running retreats in Kent, in Canterbury, in a lovely place. So people can come for the day or more if they wish to. And I'm also developing a similar center, my own center, this time in France. That will only open in about 2 years, but obviously it's a long-term project, many works to be done. I was meeting with architects last week, and it's all very exciting because they have that vision, say, oh, we could do this there and do that there. And I can see it taking shape, which is lovely. And basically the idea of these retreats is, for me, the core is around burnout, because that's what I really specialize in. That's what brought me to sophrology, so it makes sense. Preventing it, but also helping people who have been through burnout. And so helping people to understand how they function in terms of energy, sleep, managing their stress, etc. And being at their best when they need it most, so that they do not make the mistakes of overworking and running themselves to the ground and crashing, whereas they could be their best version of themselves and still keep running, but in a good way. So that's where we are trying to teach them with those retreats, basically.
So it's definitely very coherent and complementary, and yeah, I can imagine very exciting. Wow.
Indeed.
So that's yeah, that's quite a success. So we see how your journey has been evolving and the successes that it has led to. We briefly mentioned the type of challenges you've been facing. If we now were giving tips to the viewers, to anyone who would want to start their business or restart something, or who sometimes are in a position that they have to restart from scratch, what would you say are your tips?
I would say first and foremost, follow your passion. And if you're not sure what that is, take time to find it out, because it's really worth it and it's the basis of it all. And I would say never give up. Never, ever give up on who you are and what you're trying to achieve, because that's how you're going to make a difference in this world. And it's not by hiding your light under the bushel, as I say. It's not going to work. If you really want to be fully who you are, and that can obviously express itself in so many different ways, but that's how you will bring your own contribution to this world. So never ever give up and be confident. I've noticed that women often lack this self-confidence and trust in themselves, and I've seen it as very often one of the main sources of failure. And I would say, trust yourself. If you feel this is right, go for it. Get help if there's something you don't know how to do. Ask for advice, professional help, but go for it. Because if you don't, that probably nobody will, because you have your very own way, your very own thing you're bringing to the mix, and it would be a shame not to do it.
Definitely. I'm convinced of that. I increasingly talk about the self-imposed glass ceiling, because we keep talking about the glass ceiling, as in the one built by men, but a lot of women, not all of them, but a lot of them, the majority of them, has this self-imposed glass ceiling by lack of self-confidence, by lack of self-worth, etc. And that is definitely what I'm trying to help them break, because there's no reason that they can't be a woman of influence, and I mean, we all are at a certain level. It doesn't have to be a woman of influence at the world level. There are various steps in between, but it is life transforming for yourself, therefore by ripple effect for the people around you, and then you become a source of inspiration. So we can all be role models at our own levels. So I'm completely with you. I wish that more women knew how to embrace that, because it's so life transforming once you start realizing that. I keep saying, in fact, the only person that stands in the way of our success is ourselves, in fact. So excellent. So I'm just looking at time at the same time. Can you, before we forget and go further, tell us where people can find you? And I don't know if you have maybe special promotion or whatever that you want to mention, please do.
So I have my own website, which is florence-parot.co.uk, where you find my own blog, and you can subscribe to a free let's say round of little emails that you will receive for 30 days, sort of inspirational tips of how to manage better your performance of the day. And you will also find me on the Sophrology Academy website, sophroacademy.co.uk, where you learn all about our courses and what Sophrology is. And of course, there's the retreat website, lightbubbleretreats.co.uk. Soon to be .fr as well. And the publishing house is coming, and it will be, no surprise, lightbubblepublishing.co.uk.
Wow, I think I've never had so far 4 websites to mention.
Yes, I believe, more is better sometimes.
Excellent. So if you look back at your life, and those various types of steps, you've seen yourself growing, you've seen the impact that you're having on others. What is your what would you describe as really your passion, since you spoke about passion? What is your big why?
I would say my big why is really helping others be the best version of themselves. Definitely. And that takes up all these aspects we've mentioned. I think there's so much potential out there, and we can make the world such a much better place. And at my very own, very small level, as it were, I'd love to think that I am bringing a little something to that mix by helping people know how to, I often say, manage themselves better. Because, for instance, someone who doesn't sleep at night is not going to be that better version of themselves.
No, of course.
Today. They're not going to be able to express what they have to express because they are too tired for it. And that's what's driving me and helping me wake up in the morning.
I love that. It's amazing how it's normal, of course, that I'm attracting to myself what I resonate with, of course. So it doesn't come as a surprise that is what I'm hearing from everyone. And we all express it in our different way. I'm talking about helping women realize their fullest potential. So, it's exactly the same. But we all, as you say, we all are unique. We all have our own way to transmit that. And yes, I agree with you. I very, very, very strongly believe in the power of role model, in the power of the ripple effect. And when we leverage that, yes, we can make this world a better place. And it starts with us. So, yeah. So I was normally I'm asking if what your next project is, but let's wait a little bit.
Yes, give me 3-4 years, and then I'll probably have something else, on the stove.
Florence, have you always been like that? This going from one project to the other, having this drive about creating things.
I suppose I was, because that's really who I am. So I suppose I was like that until my burnout. Because I have so many things I want to do, and I have, I work so much because I love it, basically. So that's in big part why I went into burnout. Loving something does not prevent you from crashing and burning, unfortunately. It sometimes is the very cause of it. So there, for many, many years, I was just a sort of shadow of myself until I was able to put the pieces together. And then it was really a journey of rebuilding myself from the inside so that I was again who I am really. But I think, yes, this is the true me, as it were. Always sort of bubbling with many different things, and having this energy to channel in exactly what I want to do. I've learned to take it back, this energy, because it had not been there for many years with the burnout. And I find that it's interesting to learn how to do that, because I've discovered, because I was such a workaholic, I've discovered that actually by doing less, I achieve more. And that for me is a big revolution. I am who I always was, but I've learned to do it even better. Mm-hmm. And by doing actually fewer hours, literally, I'm able to achieve a lot more. And I find this really, really interesting. I'm definitely going to do this.
It's fascinating, absolutely.
It is.
Yeah, no, I'm still, for most of us, finding that balance remains a challenging exercise, and it's so easy to revert back to it. And I'm struggling with it myself as well. I do have techniques, etc. But however, it's so easy, in particular when we're passionate, because then work doesn't feel like work.
No, exactly.
And entrepreneurs quite often, when someone comes from a job where they work more or less burned out, and then they want to set up their own business because they think, oh, that's going to change everything, I'll be my own boss, etc. Yes, of course you'll be your own boss, but don't necessarily think that means you will be working less hours.
No.
It doesn't feel the same.
No,
It doesn't feel the same. It's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Florence, I have to bring this interview to an end. It's always lovely talking to you. The good news is I can talk to you when I want.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much. And for the viewers, if you too want to create this life of passion, if you too want to find that balance, because money is not everything. Money as an end doesn't make sense. If you want to find that balance in having your life and your business that are supporting each other and that are completely aligned with who you are, contact me on my website and let's have a conversation to see if we're a good fit to work together. So my website is agnesvanrhijn.com, ANYESVANRHIJ. I don't remember my... Okay, I start again. agnesvanrhijn.com, ANYESVANRHIJN.com. Sorry for that. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.